Lord. It was a crazy way of living, all the proud he was above, yet he dined with thieves and prostitutes and showed forgiving love. It was crazy getting justice. From the original was from the Romans and the Jews. I've changed that. Inconvenience over conscience, even now, is in the news. It was a crazy way of dying with our loneliness and grief, but he prayed for those who killed him and brought home an honest thief. It was a crazy resurrection. Nature yielded to the Son, and 500 people witnessed. God approved what Christ had done. It was a crazy kind of power the obedient received, and their loving lives were showing they'd been right when they believed. It was a crazy kind of promise that he'd come again one day to reward his faithful servants, but the sinful send away. It was a crazy kind of teaching he proclaimed throughout the land, for his message was that God is king of every person, time, and thing. It makes some people want to sing. The pure in heart will understand. The pure in heart will understand.
The name of that?
Crazy.
Crazy.
I wrote that, it would have been around fall of '76. I just started at Wheaton grad school. And I shared it in a grad chapel service at Wheaton College. The grad secretary left and went to work for Bill Pierce, P-E-A-R-C-E. He was, about that time, one of the 3 top trombonists in the world, and I played trombone a bit. Got a letter from the secretary. She said, Bill would like to use your phone in a radio broadcast. Wow. So he used it, and they sent me a tape of it. He had his young son read the story of Joshua in the Battle of Jericho, and they did my poem, and then they did Bill's signature song, which is Joshua Fit the Battle of Jericho, and it rocks. He covers pretty much the entire range of trombone. He used to have a broadcast with the Christian institution, conservative Christian institution, and the head of the group took Bill out to lunch and said, Bill, that recording of your song is a little bit too lively for our liking. So Bill hired a rhythm section and did a livelier recording of it. He had a French horn player friend from the Cleveland Orchestra, and this guy was rough, tough, and rugged, and the French horn was supposed to hit a certain high note, and he kept missing it. He kept cussing, and Bill nailed his note. So I got to see Bill up close when he performed at Wheaton College chapel service, and then I saw him again when he addressed the Music Educators Club.
Historic.
Crazy. Oh, I submitted the poem to the school literary magazine, and the editor said, "Oh, I don't think we can use it. It kind of makes people think you're saying Jesus was crazy." Well, reminds me of Soren Kierkegaard. Do you know the name?
Yeah.
Okay. Danish philosopher. He talked about insane logic and the logic of insanity. Insane logic is what everybody says. It's totally wrong and totally evil. The logic of insanity is what one person says, and he's absolutely right, and everybody else is absolutely wrong.
And the only place for an insane man is at the piano.
There you go.
Tuning over and over and over again.
Right.
And it's not boring because it's Better than being insane.
Mm-hmm. I like to tell my customers sometimes if you get the piano tuned, you could cut down on your psychiatrist bills. There are usually over 200 tuning pins and piano, sometimes as many as 12,500 parts and as many as 6,000 moving parts. They say that's more parts than there are in a car. Each tuning pin has about 160 foot-pounds of tension. That adds up to 16 to 20 tons of tension on the whole piano. When you hit a note, the hammer is hitting the string at about 60 miles an hour. And A above middle C is called A440. So the strings move back and forth 440 times a second. And the next A down is 220 times a second, 110, 55, 27 and a half, and on up the scale. So the ancient Greeks believed that music and math were the same subject, and Pythagoras, the math genius who developed the Pythagorean theorem, also basically discovered the musical scale. The piano was invented about 1698 in Florence, Italy, by Bartolomeo Cristofori. He was the harpsichord keeper for the prince. And the opera singers told him that when they sang loud, the harpsichord was too soft, and vice versa, because the harpsichord had a quill that would pluck the string, but it would only pluck it at one volume. So Cristofori developed the jack. That's a little J-shaped piece. And as the key is depressed, the inside end of the key lifts up on the lifter, or the sticker, and it lifts up on the whipman. They call that the horse. And set into the whipman is the jack. I call that cowboy, cowgirl. And as the whipman lifts the jack pivots. And it hits a little button there and trips out. So it throws the hammer freely up against the string. Because of that freedom, the harder you hit the key, the louder the sound is. The original name of the instrument was Gravicembalo col piano e forte, which is harpsichord with soft and loud. And Cristofori's innovations lasted about 100 years before they really had to be changed. At one point, there were more patents on the upright piano than on anything else in the U.S. Patent Office. One of the predecessors to the upright piano was the square grand. And we technicians joke about square grands. They were very poorly engineered. And a group of piano manufacturers had a bonfire with a bunch of square grands, and that was to kick off the upright piano. The modern spinet was introduced about 1936, and that kind of spelled the end of the big upright, because people wanted the small, kind of cute, new-looking spinet, even though the upright had longer strings, bigger action parts, bigger soundboard, and dollar for dollar can be a better deal than a little spinet.
So is it half tuned?
We are up to here, so we've gone from B2 to B3, and we're up to F sharp 4. So I'll keep tuning the rest of the treble, and I'll go back and tune the bass, and then check everything over.
All right. Piano, which means softer.
Softly, soft.
And so that's where that comes from. I was
Mhm.
wondering about that in
Mhm.
musical notation for choir.
Yeah. Piano is soft, forte is loud, and one of the instruments along the way was called the forte piano.
So there's like 4 different actions that occur.
Yeah, the key is like a teeter-totter, and the balance
Tilts in
is
it.
on.
So it raises that up and down.
The key balance is on a piece called the balance rail, and all the measurements are precise. In fact, there are specs or specifications for each model of piano as far as the dip, how far the key should go down before it bottoms out, how far the hammer should be from the string, how close the hammer should get to the string before it trips out and comes back, and then it should move forward 1/16 of an inch. And the ratios change over time because under the key is a wool washer, and over time that gets squashed down, so you don't get as much